I crashed my car. Seriously?
Yeah.
Man, I hear you. I mean, my heart was literally like pounding right out of my chest.
I thought it was only me.
It was like pure fear. It's fear. Why'd we all feel like that, Mike? You remember something we don't you, Mike?
Something happens to you when you leave this town. Farther away, the hazier it all gets. But me, I never left. So yeah, I remember all of it.
Pennywise.
Hello there, and welcome to Cinema Eclectica, part of the Geek Show podcast network. We are the Geek Show's dedicated movie podcast, and joining me today are two people. Say hello, two people.
I'm person one.
And I'm Exhibit B.
These two exhibits are Andrew and producer Rob. So I suppose we better get on to the mainline review, because we do have a few things coming in and off the shelf soon enough, including Comes a Horseman and Battle Royale 2. Which, well, more on that later. But for now, our headline feature is It Chapter 2.
And can I just say, I'm very excited for possibly the one and only time I'm on this show, and it's not a superhero movie. I'm finally breaking the mold.
It's a first for you. Step in the right direction, Andrew.
I mean, is it a step in the right direction, though?
Well, I mean... To be fair, the last time you were on was X-Men Dark Phoenix, so I mean it's
But I'll be honest, it feels like he's basically just stepped in the X-Men Dark Phoenix and then gone, wiped his feet clean and then stepped into it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that one scene from The Simpsons with Sideshow Bob where he keeps just walking into a series of rakes.
Yeah. It's kind of an appropriate analogy as well. So it's Chapter 2, based on the book by Stephen King, which, I wasn't a big fan of the book, I'll be honest, and I can't say I'm a big fan of It Chapter 2 either.
Yeah. Because this is the sequel to the 2017 film It. That came out 2 years ago, and it's basically a follow-on from that, where all the Losers Club has grown up into adults. Each one of them have split from, I'm forgetting the name of the town, but I assume it's somewhere in Maine.
It's Derry. It's called Derry.
Derry, yeah. And they all split up, go their separate ways, and then come back to Derry as adults to take down Pennywise the Dancing Clown, played by Bill Skarsgård, for the purpose of this movie.
Yeah, I just want to point out, right, some of the ways they pronounce Derry make it sound more like dairy. So while I was watching it, I kept expecting, like, milk products or cows.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose this is like a minor quibble that we would have with the rest of the film, I assume. But did everyone see the first part of this, I hate to use this word, duology?
Well,
yeah, I did. But even if you did, luckily, it does literally almost have like a previously on It segment at the beginning.
Yep.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah.
See, I quite liked the first movie, okay? I liked the TV miniseries of It. I thought Tim Curry was great. And I liked the first movie. I thought Bill Skarsgård was fantastic as Pennywise in the first one.
Yeah, I agree. I really enjoyed the first one too, because I went to go see that with a couple of my university flatmates, and we came out of it just thinking this was really good, and I think it was like a really good crowd to go see it with, obviously.
You were saying, Andrew?
Yeah, I was just saying pretty much the same, except for the part about thinking the original miniseries was good.
I liked it because it was different. It's just there's bits that I didn't like, but Tim Curry was the bit I liked the most.
Yeah.
I feel like the greatness of Tim Curry is equally balanced out by the fact that the lead guy had a ponytail.
Yeah, we don't talk about the ponytail on the lead guy. Let's move on to this, though. See, one of the things that I had problems with in Chapter 2 was, in particular, Pennywise. It's weird because having seen the first movie and having seen how good Bill Skarsgård was in the first movie, right, I went into this thinking, all right, this is going to be something that's really gripping, everything like that. And aside from it being so massively long,
yeah.
Aside from that, I found Pennywise quite bland.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think my take on that was that again comes back to how long the run, because it's 2 hours 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so much of that is just Pennywise. He turns into a weird, gangly old lady and then chases one of the losers about and then kind of vanishes again. And you start to realize that's it. That's all he's got.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you ask me one killer problem, it is the runtime, because the sheer repetitive nature of It Chapter 2 really does sink in, because, there's just this formula to it that I just felt either some of it's already established much well in the first film, and then other times you'll just have Pennywise just scaring, going oogie boogie to one of the losers.
Yeah.
And then it goes on to the next loser, and then it repeats after that, and repeats after that, and then you just immediately think, can we move on, please?
Yeah. Because it's literally, there's a big chunk of the film where, are we doing kind of mildish spoilers?
I mean,
the book's been out for years, it's fine. And
so is the miniseries, to be fair, and,
most of the major plot beats, okay.
I can just say, there was a bit in the film where all the losers split up, and it follows them each in turn. And it's just, you follow your respective loser, they go to a location, they have a memory from the past, Pennywise jumps out, like you said, does the oogie boogie, and then vanishes. And it's literally like someone took a bunch of webisodes and just stitched them together.
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought that entire section could have just been removed from the film. That entire section could have just been taken out. He could just had them going each going their separate ways, and then coming back afterwards and saying, "Look, I've had a chance to think about it. Let's kill him." Right?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm talking about the bit where they have to basically where they each get their own little side quest that they have to complete.
Oh, that yeah.
Chapter 2 has loyalty missions.
Yes. Why?
It's the video game equivalent of this. Bloody hell.
I mean, it's not like they can level up just by doing them, is it? Suddenly get superpowers or go Super Saiyan or something like that. Although that would have been fun.
The It Chapter 2 JRPG grind that is this film.
See, this is the thing. At least Nightmare on Elm Street 3, when they go into the dream to fight Freddy Krueger, they actually have some powers.
Yeah.
But actually, that does kind of bring me on to a genuine problem I have with this film. Because it does a lot of, I think it's fine because it's established in the first film that Pennywise's powers kind of come from, if you believe something can happen, then it can happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's, especially at the end of the film, that seems quite underutilized.
Yeah. I mean, it just didn't track. I mean, the whole thing about Pennywise being some kind of, should I do the spoiler bit about his origin?
I mean, I didn't really pick up on it all the time because I was just sat there bored out of my mind in the cinema. So
sorry, I've just got this mental image of Aidan in the cinema, just like Grandpa Simpson. It's just a lull in proceedings. He'd go, "Oh, what's up? Oh, Pennywise."
It was near enough like that experience, to be fair, except I was probably sleeping with my eyes wide open.
Oh, you freaky man.
That's actually far scarier than anything in It Chapter 2.
It's just so monotonous. It had the brain on just self-destruct mode half the time.
But yeah, Pennywise's origins, having read plenty of Stephen King and having read the book, and like I said, I'm not a big fan of the book. I don't think it's Stephen King's best work. But that whole idea of Pennywise's origins always seemed like a MacGuffin to me. It always seemed like, oh, look, let's just throw this in there because I need to do something.
Yeah. Was this expanded in the miniseries? Because I can't remember it that well, to be fair.
They basically, they took elements of the miniseries for the movies, and they took elements from the book for the movies. But they made some cosmetic changes, because the whole thing with, was it Bill, is it his name? The whole thing with Bill's wife, for example.
Which one is that again? I can't remember.
Bill is James McAvoy.
Okay, right, yeah.
And also the ponytail man.
Yeah.
It doesn't help that I can't remember their names at all. Especially when they're grown up. I mean, in the first chapter, I can remember them quite distinctively. In the second chapter, I cannot remember for the life of me when they've grown up.
Yeah, his wife Audra, for example, the whole thing with his wife Audra is they don't really focus on it in chapter 2.
No, they don't, do they? Yeah.
Whereas in the miniseries, they did have some focus on it, and it is a thing that happens in the book as well.
Yeah, I do think it is better that the movie focused more on him, like, still feeling a lot of guilt over getting his brother killed.
Yeah, and
I think that works better as, like, his driving motivation.
Yeah, that whole bit in the Hall of Mirrors, apparently that was something that they came up with in about 50 minutes on the set, because James McAvoy thought that Bill's character needed something more.
Yeah, actually, the ironic point.
Yeah, because
that was probably my favourite bit of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be fair, I agree. I mean, it reminds me, because isn't Bill's character supposed to be still accepting over the guilt of the death of his younger brother? Obviously, it happened when he was a kid.
Oh yeah, he's.
As well.
I mean, it's survivor's guilt, and it doesn't really go away that easily because he lied to his brother, which is where the line
the guilt stems from. Yeah.
Well, you lied and I died. You know, that's where it comes from. But you know, that brings up Pennywise's actual power set, right? What exactly can Pennywise do? Because it's, as Andrew said, you know, if you believe it, it'll happen. Doesn't that potentially make Pennywise ridiculously powerful and unbeatable?
Yeah, because I had the same feeling in the climax of the film where he changes into, well, you know what, if you've seen the miniseries and read the book.
Yeah.
Because you just get the massive sense of, hang on, how is basically 5 to 6 grown adults supposed to beat this super sane metamorphing clown who's not really a clown, he's more like this alien being. I don't exactly know what Pennywise is, to be fair.
He's, in the words of E.T., bright light, bright light, bright light.
Yeah, so it's just how the hell are you going to destroy that?
I mean, I don't know, but now that we've mentioned Super Saiyan twice, I'm very disappointed it didn't end with just the 6 main characters doing a fusion dance.
Yes.
or a Shazam ending. That would have been good as well. But yeah, I mean, I liked the effects. You know, I liked some of the scenes involving Pennywise. I just thought Pennywise as a character was severely underused in terms of potential. I thought because the first movie was such, part of it is because the first movie basically knocked it out of the park.
It did, yeah, because it also got that really quite strong coming of age angle to it as well.
Yeah,
I think it just helps manifest the fear aspect of it quite well. But
as you both have said, the second movie, the chapter 2, just was far too long and just had so many. I lost count of how many times the characters just sat pensively brooding or stared pensively brooding or just pensively brooding.
Yeah.
Could they not just call this Pensively Brooding Chapter 2?
I'm frightfully willing to agree with you on there. Yeah.
Andrew?
Frightening real.
Yeah, I feel like I hated it less than you two. I feel like that was kind of a good portion of the film. Well, I was fairly into it. But it is in that middle as things just start to drag on and on. You think, oh wow, this movie's still going on.
This is the second movie in a row where I've had to go to the cinema and just expect a really long horror movie in its wake. The first one being Midsommar. And, it's just... I'm just getting really tired of it. I'm thinking of charging both, filing lawsuit claims towards Ari Aster and Nadim Muschietti for doing this to me. Because I live out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, the weird thing is, the portions of the movie that I actually enjoyed were at the very beginning, after the recap, right? And then around the side quest bit, and then towards the end.
Yeah.
Three very distinct sections of the movie that I enjoyed, more than the rest of the movie, because the rest of the movie I just felt was dull.
Yeah, some of it, I definitely felt the dullness dampen down on it. There was some, like, horror elements that I did like. I mean, I think the scene in the China restaurant I did enjoy, actually. I won't lie.
But, I mean, the destruction of the town after Pennywise...
Oh, God, yeah.
That's not in there at all. And I can understand, because, you know, you don't really need something like that in what's basically a monster movie.
Doesn't really make sense.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean...
Don't worry, everyone's just contemplating why the town got destroyed in the book.
Yeah, I guess there was a load-bearing clown or something.
Are you suggesting Pennywise versus Mechagodzilla?
No, but you have an episode title.
I wasn't, but I am now.
you have an episode title right there. Load-bearing clown. Oh, right.
I thought the cast was good, though.
Yeah, the cast was great.
I think they all had very good chemistry, and they definitely did a really good job of playing like the adult versions of those characters from the first film.
Yeah.
I did enjoy Bill Hader in this, I will admit. Partially because, you know, his humour just actually really does affect me quite well. And some odd bits and moments. Not all the time. I do think some of the humour can be just a bit... doesn't quite gel. But sometimes I think it could be quite funny.
And there were bits where I thought the changes they made to the story worked better than what was in the original story. What was it? Chosen going to the Native Americans and basically staying in the town and researching everything, for example. I thought Isaiah Mustafa was great as Chosen.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought that fit more with kind of the modern idea of how these things work than the book played it. You know, the book played it in
You're saying that one of the characters relying on magical Native Americans is a more modern thing?
No, I'm saying
that was the point where I saw that and I thought, oh yeah, that's right, this was a book written in the 80s.
No, I'm saying that you've read the book, haven't you?
Not fully. I've kind of read bits of the book.
Yeah, the way that they find out about how to beat Pennywise in the book is a lot weirder. That's my point. This, you know, the way they did it in Chapter 2 actually makes more sense.
Well, I feel like we don't need to be clear about it. A space turtle tells them.
Yes. See, that was the thing. I read it after I'd started reading Discworld. Just the whole idea of a cosmic turtle. I just kept thinking of the great Atuin. It was like, you're not as classy as him, are you? You don't have 4 elephants balancing on your back and a whole world after that. Turtles.
Well, yeah, I mean, any closing thoughts regarding, or we better, or we basically said everything we need to.
I guess my main closing thought is probably weren't as bad as we're making out, but it's still it's a film I'm probably never going to watch again.
I would perfectly agree. Yeah.
Thinking, oh yeah, I've got to spare like 3 hours. I'll sit down and watch the sort of scary clown movie again.
Yeah, I think for me, because I watched it today and my bladder still hurts. Yeah, because of the length of the film, and that's probably one of the reasons why I'm a little bit more tetchy than maybe I would have been. Because I was sitting there through the middle of a film with a full bladder, wanting to use the lavatory and thinking, oh no, it's going to get good. It's going to get good now. It's going to get good now. All the way through the middle part of the film.
Yeah. I got that feeling a lot too. And it's kind of a shame because, you know, I was expecting a lot more. If they shaved off like more than half an hour worth of this, it would have been better.
To be honest,
would have been a start at least.
I would have gone further than that. I mean, I would have gone 2 hours maximum, and if possible, drop it down a bit. You know, I would have knocked off a good 45 minutes to an hour off this film. There were a lot of times when it didn't need to extend the action as much as it did. It could have tightened things up in a lot of areas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it had a whole subplot that was just completely unnecessary.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, do we have any recommendations to go for It Chapter 2, other than It Chapter 1, or the miniseries, or the whole of Stephen King's bibliography, I suppose?
I've already suggested one, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors.
Yeah.
I think my suggestion would be, "Are you mad? It's nearly 3 hours long. What are you going to sit down and watch before or after that?"
Oh, I know. Dances with Wolves. That's 3 hours long.
Yeah, I think Chapter 2 pairs really nicely with the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy. Extended director's cuts.
Oh, God.
I was kind of weirdly thinking about Lord of the Rings while I was watching it.
I mean, if we're talking about scary clowns, then The Dark Knight.
Yeah. Because I remember Bill Skarsgård citing influence from Heath Ledger's Joker for It Chapter 1. Particularly, you know.
Or actually, even better, King of Comedy.
Is that okay?
Yeah, I can't wait for the remake of that to come out at the start of next month. That was a jab at the Joker movie.
Yes, I know.
I know it was, yeah.
But I mean, there's loads of scary clown movies. I mean, I think there was one that was just called Clown, wasn't there?
There was, yeah. That came out a good few years back now, yeah.
And wasn't there one Killer Clowns from Outer Space or something like that?
Yeah, that's from the 80s. It's a whole subgenre of, like, wackiness.
I mean, clowns are inherently scary as it is.
A weird kind of left field suggestion.
Oh.
Mm.
But I'd be tempted to say maybe pair it with something like Black Christmas. Just an example of, like, how you can do a really tight, short horror film.
Yeah.
Mm.
And, like, how having the shorter runtime keeps that tension up.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm happy to go with that too, yeah. So if you're enjoying what you're listening to, why not head on over to our Patreon at www.patreon.com/The Geek Show. You can also head on over to our shop where we have loads of merchandise up for sale. After that, you can find The Geek Show on Facebook, and we are also on Twitter at TGS_The Geek Show. So I have a release from BFI. This is coming out next week at some point, I think the 18th of September. And this comes A Horseman. It is directed by Alan Pakula, who is best known for his Paranoia trilogy of the 1970s. So think All the President's Men, The Parallax View, Sophie's Choice. It's quite a string of movies that he's quite underestimated, I think. But Comes a Horseman is a bit of a different detour of all the thriller stuff that he made in the 70s. Because this is partly a Western, partly a romance film, partly a World War II movie.
Hang on, what? Whoa. Western, romance, World War II?
It's, I mean...
Are we skipping a Great War in between there?
You're not supposed to just click select all on the genre list.
It's a triad. Okay, let me just.
It's a Chinese organized crime syndicate. No.
As I'm explaining, but it's the early 1940s in the American West. So you have James Caan, Jane Fonda, Jason Robards. Richard Farnsworth's in this too. But Jason Robards plays a ruthless rancher known as Jacob W. Ewing, who basically decides to take over the land and the region of Jane Fonda's character, basically, Ella Connors, as she's called. And his dream is to basically buy up all the land for a living and obviously see the Buffalo region to its fruition. Along the way, obviously, Ella Connors isn't particularly happy about this and then decides to employ the help of James Caan's character, who basically just do not like what the ruthless rancher is doing to, obviously, the land stock and the farming region, and then basically go against the odds and then decide to take him up, really. And that's basically the plot for Comes a Horseman. And truth be told, there's not a lot I can really say about this film, I'll be honest, and it's quite unfortunate to say that, because it is essentially... I mean, I hate to be like this kind of negative about it, but it's not a particularly bad film. I mean, it's beautifully shot by Gordon Willis, who's best known as the cinematographer for The Godfather. There are a lot of westerns that have beautiful cinematography, but are very, very bland. And I really have to ask this before, because it's killing me now. I really have to ask this. So at the end, after they beat the ruthless rancher, do they become Jolly Ranchers? I mean, to avoid spoilers, I'm going to say yes.
Sorry, I couldn't help it. I had to say it.
But yeah, it's for my money. It's not a film that left overall impression on me because it's just. I mean, like I was saying before, it's not because it's a bad film or anything like that. I mean, it's perfectly, hits the expected beats as you were expecting. James Caan, as soon as obviously his partner gets killed by Ewing's character, he immediately comes into contact with, obviously, Jane Fonda's character, as they hit all the romantic subplots as you would expect. Subplots ensue with the fellow ranchers. Of course, Ewing becomes very manipulative and controlling after he loses each and every bit of land and cattle. And, and there's nothing particularly wrong about that. It's just that it hits all those beats anyway. So you just immediately think, right, excuse me, why should I really care about it? Because a lot of it's done in this very softly spoken nature, and it just feels tedious as a result. You can't really get a good chunk out of the movie without thinking, but can we please move along a bit? Basically,
they've basically made a film using look, this is how you make a Western checklist. And gone, tick,
that's
tick.
precisely the problem I had with it.
Let's just do all of these bits.
Because it's the cinematic equivalent of, that, and I know I'm going to break into, away from filmic knowledge for a little bit, but that segment in Red Dead Redemption where John Marston, after he's done all the dirty deeds, heads back to the ranch, basically, and does all this, farming cattle.
Yeah.
It's basically a cinematic equivalent of that segment, just minus the dread and minus anything that made that particularly great, a great game to play. It's just
that's kind of dull.
Yeah, that's precisely the problem with it. It just doesn't have the jugular of a Western as you would expect. Really, it just hits all those same monotonous beats that you would expect as a result. It just doesn't have that punch up to it, really, I think.
Okay, so there's not a bit where James Caan's riding around the wilderness and then the game glitches and he gets attacked by a panther with a woman's face.
Is there a bit where he walks into a saloon and then somebody throws a punch and then the entire saloon just suddenly starts fighting with each other and then it spills out into the streets?
Well, there's a scene where he tries to start a beat up in a saloon, so...
and then fails catastrophically because this is a bland movie where everybody talks to each other.
Yeah, it's a very bland movie. I think that's precisely the problem, because there's a lot of talking in this, and, you can't really get a good sense of, even Jason Robards' character, who doesn't really do, he isn't given a great lot to deal with. I mean, he's not even that much of a tangible threat that would make, in a lot of other great westerns, think Jack Palance in Shane or anything, or even Clint Eastwood in Unforgiven. It just doesn't have that three-dimensional bent to it that just makes it stand out. So at the end of the day, all you're expecting is what? It hasn't really got an edge to it, really.
This sounds like a film that could have done with some musical numbers just to spice things up.
Is that a Paint Your Wagon reference?
Yes, it is.
I know about Paint Your Wagon. Yes, it exists.
Clint Eastwood sings. Clint Eastwood should never sing, and yet he does.
It's not all that bad. I mean, Richard Farnsworth does get a good performance out of it as the rancher for Jane Fonda's character. Basically is the father figure towards her. Richard Farnsworth's best known for David Lynch's film The Straight Story, and he plays it with a lot of dignity. It seems as a very industrious character. Also seen he's quite well casted, I thought. But aside from him, and aside from Gordon Willis's cinematography, there's just not a lot I can say about Comes a Horseman, I'm afraid. It just didn't leave a massive impact on me, and truth be told, it's not going to be one of these films I'm going to woefully remember, to be fair. Extras-wise, it fares a bit better from BFI. There's some audio commentaries from, I believe, Scott Harrison in a newly recorded audio commentary, which explains Alan J. Pakula's filmography. There's some Guardian lectures with Jane Fonda and Pakula as well, which, I mean, is one of my favourite type of extras, to be fair, because I just love it when companies issue these, extras. And there's a couple of short films that BFI are well versed in, putting out. But aside from that, as an extras package, it's worth your time on that front. But as a film, unfortunately, I can't really recommend it. If you like that kind of like Sunday afternoon watch, then go ahead by all means. Expect it to be like a loving portrait of like the Old West. But aside from that, if you're expecting like something as a starting point with Pakula's work, because you got to remember, like a lot of his work for the Thrillers mode gets a lot of traction. I wouldn't recommend starting here. It's certainly a deep cut that I hadn't heard of, and there was a reason for that.
Yeah, see, the more you've described this film, the more it's made me think of a different film from much, much later. Do you guys remember Legends of the Fall?
It rings a bell.
Anthony Hopkins,
I've heard
Brad Pitt.
the name.
Yeah, Anthony Hopkins, Brad Pitt, Western, yada yada yada. Shot
I think I
beautifully.
remember. Yeah, I remember
I
it.
know who Anthony Hopkins, Brad Pitt are, and what westerns are.
Yeah, it was shot very, very well. Had some great cinematography, but it was bland as anything.
Right.
And it was supposed to be a western where that was set like 1920s, 1930s. So
Yeah. I just think if you're going to do a western, you have to have a reason for it, really. I mean, it's just, making a western for the sake of a western about a wealthy cattle baron who wants to take over the land is just not the most exciting thing if you want to do like something, but you have to do it for a different angle, and this just isn't the case, really.
yeah.
But anyway, moving on from Comes a Horseman comes Andrew, and you've got something very exciting, don't you?
Yes.
Oh boy, don't I?
Andrew has an eastern, not a western.
Very well played, bravo.
Yeah, so there's a segment on these podcasts called Morbid Curiosity Monday,
There certainly is, yes.
where some poor unlucky soul gets press ganged into watching a film that they've always heard is bad but have never seen. And for me,
yep.
it was the sequel to one of my all-time favourite films, Battle Royale 2, Requiem.
Ah, yes, I know the infamy. I've heard of the infamy, which I assume Andrew's going to describe the horror stories in just a moment.
Sorry, I can't hear the word infamy without thinking Kenneth Williams.
I was literally just about to say they've all got it in for me. Specifically, who's got it in for me is director Kenta Fukasaku, who is the son of Kinji Fukasaku, the director of the original Battle Royale, who unfortunately died of prostate cancer while shooting the second one, and so his son took over and finished it for him. And as we all know, nothing bad ever happens when the son of an influential and famous director takes over a project.
Especially when
that's the point when you would edit in the kind of very dramatic dun 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 dun.
Are you remaking the theme song?
Yes, I am. That's literally my one recurring bit across podcasts.
Just don't ask him to do Game of Thrones.
Oh God, no! Moving on to the review.
Yeah. So I think the easiest thing to do is kind of go through this film, because I feel like I can split it into three very distinct parts quality-wise. So first up, we have literally Battle Royale 2, as in we are introduced to a new bunch of students. They're all on a bus about to go on holiday, get knocked out by the knockout gas, wake up in a big scary facility, get told they have to take part in Battle Royale. And so to go through the students, I think I'll spend as much time developing them as the film does. So moving on to the next bit. It's very much just a bland group of, look, here's a bunch of kids. Some of them have distinctive haircuts.
Yeah.
If I recall, Battle Royale 2, wasn't it the kind of K-pop haircut parade or something like that?
It's a very K-pop haircut. I think initially the only real character we're introduced to is a girl named Shiori, who is the daughter of Takeshi Kitano's character in the first film.
Right.
Who had the inventive character name of Takeshi Kitano.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's basically this first bit. It's pretty much exactly the same as the first film, but all the acting's worse, and it drags on for far too long.
Yeah, isn't it like Wasn't there a director's cut that was like 152 minutes?
Yeah, and I feel like
yeah,
a lot of maybe the point of that director's cut was maybe adding in scenes at the beginning, maybe even adding in scenes that were taken out originally. Because there's parts later on where there's characters talking to each other, and it feels very much like you're supposed to already know like what the relationship between these two is. Like I think there's one character who, as they're dying, they say like, it's no big deal. And it's portrayed very much as like, you remember that? Remember this character's iconic catchphrase? Even though he's never uttered it before in the film.
Characterization, everyone.
Yeah.
Oh, I think there's some character... wasn't there a character who was quiet for a lot of the film and then finally said something at some point right before getting killed?
Man, that's like most of them, Rob. There's so many characters who are just like, they'll be in the background, then suddenly like there'll be an abrupt change of focus and they'll die.
After saying something...
Like, the first Battle Royale film did a really good job of kind of giving each character just enough characterization so that when they died, it was sad and poignant.
Yeah.
It's like that, but bad.
Wow.
Yeah.
Especially because I feel like a lot of characters are supposed to have kind of establishing character moments in this first bit in the facility, but basically the setup is there's like a big line down the middle of the room, and you're basically told, if you're on the right-hand side, you have to take part in Battle Royale, but if you're on the left-hand side, we'll kill you right now. That kind of rhymed. Didn't intend it to. But anyway, there's so much just every character shouting all at once, and people running from like one side of the room to the other. There's kind of hard to keep track of like who's who.
Yeah.
And so any characterization you do get, it's kind of hard to remember who that applies to.
All right.
Yeah.
Except for our new character, who is basically Takeshi Kitano's replacement, Riki Takeuchi, playing Riki Takeuchi.
Riki Takeuchi?
Yeah, I think he's a fairly famous actor for like Yakuza type films.
Oh, right, him. Yeah, I remember him now.
Yeah, he's got he's got a look. He's got like the kind of very sort of slicked back black hair, almost in a quiff kind of.
Yeah.
And also like a big leather jacket on as well, and he's always chewing on pills and being all tough guy one-liners, which I'm sure is a lot of fun in Yakuza films. But here it just comes across as like overly cartoony.
Wasn't Sonny Chiba in this as well?
He is. Sonny Chiba gets like a whole scene.
Oh wow.
And it's like
scene.
It's maybe like one of the best bits of the films. He's well actually that brings me in to the main part of this film. So the main characters from Battle Royale 1, who escaped at the end of that film. Yet Sonny Chiba trained them up into being terrorists.
Right.
Wow.
Which, sure, film. We'll circle that back to that in a sec. But for now, all you need to know is the government considers them terrorists. They're holed up on an island. So this year's new Battle Royale is that all the kids get forced into just assaulting this island. Basically we're going to use these like a suicide squad. Just throw them against the enemy, let them kill as many as they can, and then we'll send in our guys to clean up. At least I think, because they also get told that they're supposed to like kill Shuya Nanahara, who's like the lead guy. But it also seems like they don't expect that to work, but then are also really surprised when it doesn't work. There's a lot in this film where I'm not quite sure what the plot is supposed to be. So yeah, we got all that set up. And then we get to kind of them assaulting the island. And this bit, okay, this is part 2, because there's like a 20 to 30 minute stretch where this film is great.
Right.
Because it's just this full on, like, proper Saving Private Ryan-esque, all these scared kids getting forced into just assaulting this enemy fortification. And it's horrific. There's like explosions and gunshots and like half of them get wiped out before they even land on the island. And it's this really effective, like, oh, Jesus Christ, war is terrifying.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool, because it also ties back to the original novel.
Yeah.
Which was very much written like as an anti-war novel.
Yeah.
Wasn't
so
it?
it's cool to see that actually brought into one of the films.
Wasn't it a graphic novel?
The manga.
No, it was a novel. Did the film or the manga come second?
The film came second, and then there was a manga adaptation, if I remember rightly.
Okay.
Because there is a manga adaptation of Battle Royale too, called I say manga adaptation. It's a manga series. It's called Battle Royale 2 Blitz Royale, and it's partially related to the second film.
Is it also related in that it's not very good?
Yeah.
Is that by the use of the word partially, I assume? I think that's the giveaway word.
No, I think, it's exactly what Andrew said. It's when you get somebody else to direct the film, especially when it's partway through, there's going to be some issues.
Yeah.
How severe those issues are depends on the skill of the director and how arrogant they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, just before we get to, basically all of that, there's also probably what's my favourite scene of the entire film during the assault part, which is basically where a bunch of the kids are kind of holed up in just an abandoned building, and one of the girls takes out her insulin pen and just gets to have this whole conversation about, like, how ridiculous it is that, they're in this life and death battle, but she's also got to think about the fact that she's only got 3 days worth of insulin, and so she could end up being killed by just this really mundane thing.
What does that add?
I think it's a really good examination of, like, the banality of war.
Oh, okay, right.
See, that's one of the few bits of Battle Royale 2 that actually stood out for me as something that felt more like a proper examination of the situation. These are kids who've been plucked from their daily lives and thrust into this scenario. So
okay, yeah.
They're not prepared for it in any way, shape, or form.
It sounds like one of those perfect block beats that it's perfectly encapsulated in the first one, really, isn't it?
Yeah, but I feel like in the first one, it was, especially the film, it was more focused on, like, the immediacy of just we've been thrown into this situation and none of us know what to do about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas this, I think it allows, like, a scene like that where they're thinking more long term, like, just we are stuck here and we don't know for how long.
Yeah.
But the assault that eventually ends when they get into the enemy compound. But the terrorist group, let's just call them that.
Yeah.
They see that all the kids are wearing bomb collars and realise, oh no, wait, this isn't like an invading army. This is just another battle royale thing. So they end up detonating an EMP that they were planning on using for their escape to deactivate those collars and kind of convince the kids to join their cause. And then the movie has about a 30-minute intermission.
What?
Where just everyone sits around for a long, long time. Just sort of... There's literally about 3 different scenes of characters just pensively staring out into the rain. And it's boring. It real boring.
Blimey.
And
right.
I wish it was just that. I wish that was the one complaint I could have about this scene.
But it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, Rob, this is what you were teeing up when you mentioned about the arrogance of the director.
Yes.
So, you know what, shall we just quote director Kento Fukasaku?
Go ahead, yeah.
We never set out to make Harry Potter. He explained that he wanted audience members to ponder big issues and to view the world from the point of view of a terrorist. He wanted, desired a lot of controversy and outrage for the sequel, adding that the more strongly people reacted, the better.
Right, okay.
Yeah, Shiya Nanahara, lovely schoolboy protagonist, kind of just wanted to keep his best friend's crush safe and not hurt anyone.
Yeah.
He blew up a building.
Yeah.
Oh,
a tenement building full of civilians.
Yep.
He is this film's hero.
Yeah, that's one of the things that that never made sense. How do you go from that to that? It's such an extreme character change.
Yeah.
Such an extreme change in personality that it just didn't make sense. Even
there's bits where he's like, literally, Battle Royale 1 was about his entire journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of kind of learning to, like, just take that one shot that might be necessary to save someone's life and how heavy a toll that takes on the human soul.
Yeah.
Battle Royale 2, he's storming down corridors, blasting his AK.
Yeah.
Blimey.
It just doesn't make sense.
It just ruins that character's dignity, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it really does. There's just, I feel like there's almost some merit of like kind of exploring this idea of like one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. But the film doesn't. Like, it has all these long, flowery speeches, which essentially equate to characters just saying, God, this dystopian Japanese society is bad, innit? And like, they never even confront the fact that he's caused all these deaths.
Dear. Yeah.
It's just, it's real bad. It's real bad and it's real problematic.
Yeah, it's giving me,
Yeah. Luckily, the rest of the film is just incredibly dull. Because it ends with, basically, the Japanese forces. Oh, no, it does not end with the Japanese forces storming the island. There's first of all a bit. So the Japanese forces send in an advanced scouting group, and they all get killed. And then the Americans launch a missile at the island, and Riki Takeuchi, who, by the way, just disappeared for like half the film, he comes back, and now, oh no. How dare they do a thing that's going to result in no survivors? As opposed to my plan to send, a battalion full of terrified children with bombs strapped to their necks.
Dear God.
That was the moral solution. This is just inhumane. Anyway, he has a change of heart. Somehow shows up on the island dressed in a rugby outfit. And then his head explodes because he also has a bomb collar. What was that all about? Don't even sweat it. It's fine. Then the Japanese army attack. And I feel like, so this last bit is very much supposed to be kind of a sort of Dirty Dozen-esque last stand with all the beloved characters we'd come to know and really care for getting picked off one by one, like one boy with a bandana, other boy with a bandana who was a different character, apparently, girl who the film spent a weird amount of time focusing on but didn't really give any lines to some other people. And yeah, it's this big, boring, noisy gunfight. And it's also, I feel like this is definitely where there's been a disconnect between the two directors. Because you had that initial assault of like showing off the horrors of war.
Yeah.
And then you have this end gunfight, which is just this ridiculous, over-the-top action movie cliche.
Yeah.
Like, there's literally a point where one of the new group of kids, who was initially going to just run off with some survivors, he decides to turn back. And there's a bit where she was like, what are you doing back? And he just says, hope I didn't miss anything. God damn this 80s action flick nonsense.
I honestly don't know what to say about Battle Royale 2. I didn't like it one bit.
No, it's not just that it's bad, it's that it's bad and it kind of directly flies in the face of everything the first film stood for.
Yeah, I think that's precisely the reason why I avoided it as well, because there's just, after like everything the first one had set up so well, and I remember it's a really just balls to the wall, memorable movie. I remember hearing the horror stories surrounding the second one, and I just said to myself, well, I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole, am I? And there's just,
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And I feel sorry for you, Andrew. I honestly do.
I feel so. Maybe I should just stick to the superhero ones.
Yes.
This is what happens when I don't.
They're there, Andrew. They're there.
All right, are we at the end of the show then?
We're at the end of the show, yeah. So swiftly moving on from Battle Royale 2. On Friday, the 13th of September, going through next week's releases, that is, we have the Downton Abbey movie, which is the real disconnect from that and Battle Royale 2.
I mean, I don't know. You've not seen that movie. You don't know what happens.
But just hearing from your experience, I mean, I assume there's a bit of a difference. So after that, we have a few like lower key releases. I mean, easily because it's being eaten up by the Downton Abbey movie. We have Force Sama by Wide Al Khatib, which is getting released from 25 screens across the country. We have a documentary from Dogwoof called Honeyland. Hustlers, getting screened at 300 plus locations. Don't know much about that, and I have no idea why it's there, but according to launching films, that's on there. We have a movie I've heard of. Hooray! Midnight Cowboy, starring, of course, the 70s classic, starring Dustin Hoffman and Jon Voight.
That Midnight Cowboy.
Yeah. We have Night Hunter, starring Henry Cavill, when he's not doing Superman stuff. Also in The Witcher, isn't he? The new Netflix series. Something
he is,
like that.
yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was, yeah.
Because he just likes to make unconvincing hair choices.
I did get distracted by the unconvincing hair choice of Geralt there, yeah, in the Netflix series. We also have The Shock of the Future by Mark Collin, starring Alma Hororowski, and Wolf by Stuart Brennan. And you can probably imagine what our film of the week is going to be. Take a guess. Go on, take a guess.
Downton Abbey.
I wish it was. No, we are doing Midnight Cowboy.
Yeah.
Simply because it's one of the few reissues of the week that I think is worth doing, really.
Okay, cool.
So, until next week with Midnight Cowboy, that is your lot for Cinema Eclectica. Do keep in touch with us. But in the meantime, I've been Aidan.
I've been Andrew.
And I've been Rob.
See you next week.